Yeah, my name is Jukka Jormola, and I'm landscape architect. I was working in the Finnish Environment Institute before, and I was developing the especially environmental river engineering together with the engineers. And after that, I have my office, my planning office, Interenv Limited, and I've been planning small projects uh, with river restoration or actually creating new bypass channels and also making monitoring on them, and then making general plans for new proposals for combining hydropower and also ecological continuity, especially by bypass channels, but also by rewetting old rapids by environmental flow.
Yeah. So you mentioned bypass channels there a few times. So this is to try and uh, increase river continuity, particularly in relation to hydro or barrages that are stopping fish migration.
This mainly with hydropower. It means that they will be permanent uh, hindrances for migration, and that's why there needs to be a bypass channel. I would, of course, prefer removing dams, but when it's not possible, when there's the existing hydropower plant. But it seems that there is a big interest among the hydropower companies also to solve the problem, because they have noticed that even if hydropower as renewable energy and especially adjustable energy for the grid, it is important and will be important. So they also noticed that fish migration and river restoration is also important. So they are also willing to somehow to solve it. And there's always going the discussion, how much water can there be for bypass channels or revetted rapids, and how about the regulation, especially short-term regulation, which is a problem for fish.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, you've been working on restoration projects for how many years now?
I must say I've been working about 50 years.
Wow, that's quite impressive. And over the years, how have these projects changed back in the early days to what you do now?
Um, I must say that the attitude has changed to be much more positive than it was before. In the beginning, as landscape architect, I was allowed only to influence the land side of rivers, to the modeling of the terrain and so on. So it was really landscape design that time, but now it's possible, or within the year it became possible that I can be involved also with the water itself, which was the domain of the water engineers before. So I've been also studying for really being able to also influence the whole watercourses and rivers.
Yeah. And when you work on these different projects, what would you say is the most important aspects of those projects to get right from the start?
It has shown that with planning is somehow always trying to figure out what will be in future, because I've been planning with cases where on dry lands, for instance, bypass channels, it's not principally it's not sure if the fish will accept the plans you are planning, and then somebody else is then building them. But luckily there have been projects which are really successful in that sense, that according to the best knowledge that we could implement there in the planning, for instance, by using flow modeling, habitat modeling, which engineers had created. So to combine them, there have been successful projects, and even so that fish have accepted them at once in the next possible moment, the next autumn, for instance, the salmonid fish have found them and they have began to spawn there, and we have been able to state that there's success after that.
Yeah.
We've been able to make videos of the spawning during the first autumn, and then next summer and autumn there has been good results in electrofishing.
So you mentioned habitat modeling there. Do you think that is a useful tool that's evolved over the years?
It is needed, or it is good in projects where there's a decision must be made of the project itself or the implementing, but principally the modeling, it would not be needed if you know what you are planning. And if the ones who are financing it will trust on you that it will be good. So in the beginning, it was good. And because for me, it was also important in Finnish Environment Institute that we could have some evidence of the planning also, how to plan, because that could be then multiplied for other cases. In that sense, modeling is something that will give a common basis for other planners also.
So it's as effective as a communication tool as it is for design of the solution.
Yeah, that's really the most important thing.
Yeah, and when you do these projects, do you have engagement of the local communities, or is it more limited to, say, the hydro company and the landowner, or who are the typical stakeholders?
Actually, until now, the stakeholders have been municipalities, but also private persons, like this one project, just as a Lakius, it was a private initiative, but mostly they are municipalities. And now, only quite late, within last year or within some years, power companies really have been interested, and they have also had their own planning projects.
Yes.
In most cases, I have only been as an outsider. They are giving some points of the planning and so on.
Yeah, okay. And do the municipalities engage with the community as well, or is that side of things not so common for you?
It is one of the most important cases I have in Imatra city. It was the planning project initiated really by the city itself, and they were ordering an open tender. And luckily, I was in the group that won the planning, and that's how it went on.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. How do you think? Are you familiar with the nature restoration regulations that are coming in at all?
What do we mean with the regulations?
The nature restoration law that the European Commission has passed, and the efforts to expand river continuity to remove obsolete barrages and weirs and blockages,
Yes.
to restore certain percentages of rivers.
Yes.
How do you think that will affect your work?
It will increase the number of cases where there should be dam removals. I'm sure about that. But I'm also insisting that there should be some other areas also, like these hydropower plants. They can be removed, and the core thing in the nature restoration law is to taking off obsolete dams. But I think it's important to improve the continuity also in cases where the dams will stay.
Yes, yes.
And that we will see how the rules and the national program in Finland, the restoration program will go on. They are just preparing it right now. What will it include? And
yes.
I'm interested in that. Also interested to influence that.
I think the challenge at the moment that being put is to how to increase hydropower flexibility and to reduce the environmental impact of the hydropower, and also to gain community or societal acceptance, understanding and acceptance of this balance. Because the push for more hydro flexibility is to support the increase of renewable energy such as wind and PV. But we need something to balance when the wind doesn't blow and when the sun doesn't shine. Yes. So it's a complicated mix, isn't it? Do you ever get involved with discussing that type of balance with project teams and the community?
Yes, or actually in average, because we have had some projects where the effect of this regulation has been monitored and evaluated. And luckily, I think we have quite a good common rules for that now, so that, for instance, small hydropower, which cannot regulate very much, and some small hydropower plants, they can regulate the water at all. So we have come to that actually, for in the big picture, they are not useful or needed for future. And in small rivers, small hydropower plants, it's better remove them totally. And that's why we have many cases where even existing and functioning hydropower plants have been decommissioned. Mm-hmm. So we must choose which hydropower plants to maintain and which to remove.
Yeah.
And I think it's going in the right direction in Finland, that we have cases where we are discussing how many megawatts of hydropower plant could be removed and what should stay. And we are just discussing one case where it's rather big. It's 8 megawatt hydropower plant, and actually in the Finnish program of the government, there's a decision that this one should be decommissioned, this big power plant, because it's so important to get water basin free from the dam.
So for that particular site, there was no solution for bypassing or in any way?
There is a trial from the side of the municipal hydropower company. There are several municipals owning it. They are proposing a bypassing solution, but in the government program, it should be decommissioned. So this discussion is ongoing now.
Right. Okay. And so when you're working on these various projects, is there a commonality between the problems or the difficulties? What is normally the most problematic for implementing one of your restoration projects?
It is maybe on the general planning phase, when you make the big decisions, what kind of solution you are choosing. Because I've made some preliminary programs with different options. For instance, like I said about decommissioning a hydropower plant, or then bypassing it around for instance, a regulation dam, or keeping the hydropower plant, but still making a more natural solution by the regulation dam, by making it a natural rapid, and so on.
Yeah.
So these decisions are very important, because they also influence of the functionality of the project in the last phase when it's implemented. For instance, there's one case where the hydropower company wanted to keep the 4 megawatt hydropower plant, and the solution was one of the options. It was to go around the regulation dam with a bypass channel and rewetting the rapid, and the power company gave about 10% of the mean discharge for free for it. So it was quite a good solution there. It was a compromise. It was not the best one, because there's still the question if the fish can find the new rapid with only 10% of mean discharge, because the hydropower plant is in another place, and they could be attracted there more than coming to the new rapid, which is free for them. Luckily, we found that there was during the first autumn already, there were trouts that found also the rapid and the bypass channel, and WWF had a video monitoring there, and they were spawning just in front of the camera on the two first autumns. So it was we had luck there.
That was good. So in terms of recommendations for others who are thinking about restoration projects, your number one priority would be to sort out the planning. What other factors would you say are important towards a successful project?
Of course, the implementation of the project is very important, and there can be you can have good luck or not so good luck in the implementation, because if I'm making a plan, so it's up to the financer how they will implement it, and it's not so sure if a planner can influence it afterwards and say if it's according to the plan or not. I have had, in that sense, luck that there have been the regional environment centers that have been taking care of the overall checking of the construction project in themselves. So they have been very skillful people who have done river restoration before. So they are applying this their skills also for new projects that on dry land. So they have become very good solutions there in practice, what they have been doing, and it's very good looking. And this is one thing that the landscape architect is very keen on. If it will be also nice looking and nature-like looking, or will it be somehow only in that direction, like semi-natural also? Because I really admire, for instance, like Chinese and Japanese gardening, the placement of stones, and we have that kind of habit also in Finland in river restoration, that we have very skillful people who also like to have it nature-like looking. So if we have luck, so we have also in these implementations this kind of way of constructing.
Okay. And then finally, if you were to give a message to either the Finnish government or the European Commission about anything that would help the restoration process, do you have any comments or suggestions or recommendations regarding financing or policy that you'd like to make?
In the policy, I would say I have heard some comments of that there will be rather strict rules how to make the restoration works gaining this 25,000 kilometers, that they should be the products that will be there afterwards, after restoration, they should be very natural. And for instance, there are concerns about if there can be wears wears that keep the water level upstream, for instance, above a section that will be restored. If it will be accepted to have a small dam there or a weir, even if it's very nature-like, made of stones and so on, only to keep the water level, because people want to have their swimming places or lake that has maybe a permit that there must be a certain levels. I think there should be some kind of flexibility in this, because like in my profession, we always try to solve different problems or different needs, and they can combine them to a good solution. So I believe in good solutions, even if it's not the one, or the case is not, will not look exactly the same as it was before, because we live in a society where there are different needs, and there are also cultural, historical needs, or needs to maintain history. So we must make compromises in this sense, but not preferably make compromises with the functionality for fish.
Yes. But in that example that you just gave, I imagine that you could have a sort of rapid around the side of a small weir or something, so you could have both fish continuity and the swimming area. Would that not be feasible?
Yeah, it is feasible if you have the good attraction and a good amount or sufficient amount of water in the bypass channels. In the bypass channel, there's always the question, where is the entrance, or where it goes to the water course, how near to the dam. It should be as near as possible, where the fish collect, gather, and so on. These are the questions about the functionality, and also the amount of water. Of course, it influences the attraction and functionality.
So from a policy or regulation perspective, it's having clear goals is fine, but having flexibility in how you achieve those.
Yes, there should be some flexibility, but you should also be rather strict in these water amounts to ensure the functionality, because it's in vain to make projects that look nice, but they don't function if there's too little water and so on. But this is, of course, the negotiation in the planning phase with the power companies. What is the amount of environmental flow? And this is not at all a sole problem, the amount of environmental flow. What amount is feasible, should be feasible also for power companies, because they lose something, but according to Water Framework Directive, there should be some amount that should be accepted from the side of the water users also for the environment.
Okay, that's very interesting. So is there, before we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to say or recommend regarding freshwater restoration projects?
I would say that you should listen to the ones who know the fish, for instance, the fly fishers and so on, because they know salmon fish, the requirements and so on. And there will be big possibilities for creating new kind of environment where also sport fishing could be possible. And I think this is very important to see these new possibilities when thinking about the losses for hydropower and so on, because it's also the benefit of hydropower companies to be able to accept that there will be some restoration of what was in the past, but there will be also future possibilities.
Okay, thank you very much.